open woke sessions. Mind, body, soul, no second guessing. Spilling truths, no sugarcoat dressing. Wisdom, honey, cash and knowledge, blessing. Hands to the streets, wide open woke. Eyes on the prize, ain't no time for jokes, lies and eyes. These chains we roll, truth on the mic, destiny and vote. Hands to the streets, wide open.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? This is Wide Open Woke Podcast with your host, Audi Rob. Hey, I come to you with a video today talking about alien connection. This is an interview that if you know about Linda Moulton, Howe, Howe, sounds like Howl almost, Howell, but it's Howe. And she has this interview and she's telling about the connection the UFOs basically that are in our area, the bases and the connections and what's going on beneath the surface that has been very secretive. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into this. Check it out. So yeah, about experience also.
Thank you very much for joining us, Linda Moulton Howe. It's absolutely wonderful to be here in Albuquerque in your home, and thank you for inviting us to do this interview. It's great.
Well, Lucas, I thank you because I think it is in exactly these kinds of discussions with people who are trying to get to the bottom of real facts and real truth that the whole world can begin to be educated together with you, with me, because governments are locked into policies of lies and denial. And the truth is, what you're countering, we're living on a concocted planet, concocted in policies by governments and 1% against the general human family knowing the truth and the facts. And one of those facts that has been with this planet for millennia, not just centuries. We're not alone in this universe. Wow. And this planet has been host to a number of what government people use this phrase, an alien presence. And in that definition of alien presence, there might be 20 different non-human entities. And we're at a point in the beginning of 2018, I have tried for 39 years, since 1979, to get to the bottom of what is the truth about what is behind animal mutilations, human abductions, and why is it that military and government agents in the United States will even tap my phone. I'm an American citizen. I'm supposed to be in a government of, by, and for the people. And I have lived a life where I have grown up.
Now, Linda, she's been involved in the UFO that you see the years, over 30, 40 years. She's been in it for a while. And she's been in contact with all the top people in Congress. She has a whole lot of information. There's one woman that has a lot of information that she does. But she's trying to break it down to you and how the secrecy was kept. So let's go ahead and continue on.
As an American citizen, in which the government was supposed to be the employee of us, the population. And now in January of 2018, it is upside down. And all Americans know we're struggling for facts. This is not fake news. We are struggling to lift up the policies of lies and denial and understand, perhaps for the very first time on the planet, an alien presence, by definition, to people that I have talked to in the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Reconnaissance Organization, and there are a lot of other agencies. They will look you right in the eye and say, the truth is, we're not alone in this universe. We never have been. And one man from the Defense Intelligence Agency said, Linda, we have proof in the United States government that there have been 3 competing geopolitical, territorial, conflicting intelligences using, mining, harvesting, and interacting on this planet and in this solar system for at least 270 million years. And when I said, sir, that's before the time of the dinosaurs. And there was a pause. He didn't break eye contact with me. And he said, Linda, one of these groups made the dinosaurs in an 80 million year long experiment. Those are the discussions that I have had since 1979.
Wow.
When I grew up in a very normal, going through school, getting married, having a child, working in television as my profession. I did all of the medical programming for the ABC television network in Boston. I had come from Stanford University, where I got a master's degree in communication. My master's thesis was with the Stanford Linear Accelerator, and it's hard to believe now, but when I graduated from Stanford University with my master's degree in 1968, and my film was about the very first effort to get computers to analyze the bombardments at the subatomic level at the Stanford Linear Accelerator. It was just beginning in 1968. So over the last 40 some years, I have grown up with this background of I wanted to understand the subatomic world, and I did a picture calculus at Stanford. I loved medicine and science. I did a film with the Stanford Medical Center that was part of my work at Stanford, and they ended up using my film for 19 years. And 19 years later, I received a beautiful letter from Stanford University thanking me as a master's student for doing a film that they used at the Stanford Medical Center. And from Stanford, I married and went to Los Angeles, and I had a family, and I was working in television, and I was doing environment, science, and big issue programs. I was doing street reporting, and then I was doing live studios, and then I was doing documentaries, which is where I started at Stanford.
And that was as a journalist. And that was...
An investigative reporter.
Exactly. And that led you on that path to get into this world of UFO research and alien, the alien presence. How many alien species and races do you know of or have you heard of? How many different types are there? And are they visiting Earth?
The best reference to breaking down a taxonomy on non-humans is in an alleged briefing paper for President Ronald Reagan, March 6 to 8, 1981. It was released in 2000, and I think it was 6, to the serpo.org. Serpo.org has been on the web allegedly revealing from military sources various pieces of the alien presence story.
Hey, the Project Serpo. If y'all don't know about Project Serpo, maybe you can find some information online, but that was the project where they had an exchange program where some humans went to another planet. Yes, like 10 or 11, 10 of them. One of them died on the way there going through the warp drive because he didn't make it to the warp drive. He was dead in his capsule. But the ones that did survive talked about the planet and how that planet had like 2 suns and how it never really got dark, like how it got dark here on Earth when the sun goes down. It didn't get that dark because they had 2 suns. So as dark as it has gotten at nighttime, it may have gotten dusk. That's as dark as it gotten. Then it got right back light again. And I heard they had extreme temperatures on the planet and how they couldn't stay in one location. They found another location on the planet that was a little more cooler for them, and the ETs helped them get to that location because it was better suited for them while they were on their planet. It's a deep story. You guys got to get into it, but I'm not going to get. Let me go ahead and get back to the story with Linda here.
On Earth. I took the transcript of this alleged President Ronald Reagan briefing at Camp David and asked, we'll call it a trusted colleague in Washington, D.C., if they could find out, did this happen? Did Ronald Reagan go to Camp David March 6 to 8, 1981? Was he briefed by William Casey, who he appointed to be the director of the CIA? And the answer back to me was yes, this is accurate. In this briefing for Ronald Reagan, you have the director of the CIA, you have people there from NSA, from DIA, you have a man called the caretaker. There's a group. And they introduced to President Ronald Reagan that they are dealing with 5 different alien species.
Only 5.
This briefing to Reagan. And the astonishing part of this in 81 to the president is the top one is the EBEN, extraterrestrial biological entity, as the government came to call them. No Greek or Latin name. And the EBEN has a pear-shaped head with a chin.
What is known as the Greys, right?
No.
No?
Greys are like when we say we're going to Xerox or we're going to get a Kleenex, you could have 1,000 different Xerox machines, 1,000 different makers of Kleenex. But we call it Kleenex or Xerox. It's the same that this word has come to mean.
But that
Gray.
type of look that we have seen also in films and...
There is a big difference. If you're in the military or you're in MJ-12, about the agendas depending upon the physiognomy and whether you're dealing with a prime intelligence, whether you're dealing with a hybrid, whether you're dealing with a clone, or whether you're dealing with a cyborg.
Yes.
And any and all of the so-called generic grays could be in any of those categories, and I'm talking about a prime intelligence that makes the other clones, hybrids, and cyborg.
Who would they be?
I'm talking about the EBENs right now. I'm talking they're at the top of the list.
Yeah.
They're the ones our own government says.
So they're not cloned.
No. A prime intelligence is its own unique life form that can make all these others. So they're starting with the EBENs, but they have a very specific head shape. It's not at all like this. It is a pear-shaped, and they don't have black lenses. They have rounder eyes, and they are usually considered to be dark brown with, the vertical pupil seems to come up sometimes, putting it into a reptilian category.
Are they reptilian? Yeah,
I don't know. I do not know, because the EBENs are described as being, quote unquote, allies of the American military and intelligence. But every person who's ever described even having a meeting with them says, but they lie. Okay.
The EBENs lie.
The EBENs lie. We can say that we will lie to a child about why we're going to the doctor. So I always hold the door out that if the pear-shaped 5'2" to 5'3", gray-skinned, but often it is a leotard. It is a tight leotard that has been found only in surgery and not skin. We relate to a skin. Well, what if I had on a actual manufactured that could repel machine guns, and you sitting here could not tell any part of me was covered by an artificial construct? That's part of the EBEN technology world.
So is that like shape-shifting?
No. They know how.
It's a coding.
Yeah, and it was discovered in one of the very first autopsies at Wright-Patterson. When they took the scalpel, thinking they were dealing with skin, the scalpel wouldn't cut. And that's when they realized, what they thought was skin was some kind of protective covering. Okay, these are the Ebens. Very sophisticated technologies. Holograms, neutralized gravity, invisibility, a lot of their technology.
And we don't know
back
what type they are of species. We don't know that.
They're
what
supposed
that
to
is.
come from Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2. That's supposed to be their home planet, the same one that Betty and Barney Hill dealt with in New Hampshire in '61, the first abduction case. And there was a three-dimensional holographic map, and Betty was able, under hypnosis, to remember things in such detail that she could draw what she saw in this hologram.
And she described and drew that star
Yeah,
map.
she also did drawings of what she was dealing with. But that is one of the most amazing cases of all time, because an amateur astronomer took on to try to see if they did three-dimensional beads. Could they find anything in the local, within 20 light years of Earth, that would resemble what Betty drew? And she did. And that is the famous discovery of Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2 as a binary star system, very much like our own yellow system. And then today we know that there are a whole garden variety of yellow suns in an area within, say, 15 to 20 light years of our planet, where in abduction cases like Betty and Barney Hill, Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2 has come up, Epsilon Eridani.
Yes, another story. I had to check out Betty and Barney Hill about the abduction story. Go check that out. That's one of the famous stories that's out about abduction. Check it out.
Has come up, Epsilon Booties. So now we have a framework in which the abduction syndrome introduces to investigators, and the government is listening to all of this, that within our surrounding neighborhood, people are interacting with beings, some of them pear-shaped heads with gray covering, that seem to be coming from some place within what we will call our little arm of the Milky Way galaxy.
So those Ebens are they're not good, are they?
This is the complexity. Is there anybody who knows the truth about what any given non-human that has been photographed or sketched, what is their true source and what is their true agenda? And what I'm sharing is that in the Reagan briefing, they start with the Ebens. And the Ebens dominate in many ways, because if they are making, which is my understanding, the Ebens can take genetic material from anything and make any kind of a clone. They work with hybrids. They create cyborg. Cyborg could be taking you and actually taking your arm off and putting in an advanced technology so that your arms would be stronger, keeping your core. That would be a cyborg that the Greys could do, the Gray Ebens. On the next two, on this list of
Where they
five,
got the bionic man
the
from.
second one, the Archeloids, are defined as being androids created by the Ebens. The Archeloids
Clones or
have very large noses. They have domed heads. They wear ropey headdresses. They have vertical pupilled eyes. They have a small, narrow chin, receding, and they carry a rod. And the rod has a spiral around it. And the rod is introduced to our government as this is our translation communicator.
So are those the ones that are working behind our government?
Wow.
What I think is the most interesting part of the Archeloid to the Eben, the Archeloid was created by the Ebens, and they seed planets with their genetic creations. So the closest match in Earth history to the Archeloids are the Sumerians. When you look into the stone,
The archeoloids, are they reptilian?
those vertical
Mammalian.
pupils suggest reptilian. But now you get into if things are genetically mixed and matched. What if they have taken genes from an alligator, a monkey, primate, an insect, a whole bunch of genes, and they end up with a sophisticated android. Android is a biological robot.
With their own soul life?
There's not one proof that these beings have souls.
Wow. Not one.
Homo sapien have souls.
What about the reptilians? A lot of people all over the world who's investigating these things and these topics are talking about the reptilians and their collaboration with the New World Order and the government structure around the world. Is that something you know anything about? And if you can please talk a little bit about that, how that is connected and how evolved those reptilians are. Are they primarily bad? Who are they?
A man who retired from the Defense Intelligence Agency, which has been one of the biggest players in the UFO ET phenomena, even if the world doesn't understand. In the United States, the oldest is the CIA because it was formed in September of 1947 by Harry S. Truman. And what people don't realize is that when it was formed specifically because of the crashes in New Mexico in 47.
Who were real?
They're non-humans, and the crafts were mind-blowing, and they came in different shapes. I have talked with people who were there. I have talked with people who saw the bodies. I have talked with people who have seen the craft, and they weren't round and they weren't discs. They were shaped like the wedges of a piece of pie, but they were swoopy. So it's a shape like this. And that's why they're not technically called triangles. A triangle has 3 even vertices.
Right.
If you take something, then you cut it like a piece of pie, you're cutting a triangle, a triangular shape, but it has depth. And if it has a swoopy surface, that explains why all of the documents that are absolutely real, confirmed by our own government, that talked about plan forms, PLANFORMS, were retrieved from 3 different landing sites in New Mexico between July 2nd and July 4th, 1947. The plan form is a triangular body, but it has swoopy and fins, and General Twining was the first person assigned by President Harry Truman to go on behalf of the President of the United States personally to examine the craft that came down in July of 47. And General Nathan Twining's report back to Truman, every human on the planet, it should be required reading. Because here is a general who is extremely bright, and he is giving a report.
How can we know that what the government and what official papers say, even the Freedom of the Information Act, how can we know that's real?
Which didn't come into being until middle 70s.
Right, okay. But even before that, because that's even just around 70 years ago or something.
70 is, yeah, well, you go back 70 years to the end of World War II.
Which is not a lot. Which is not a lot in the bigger scale. How can we know if any of those documents are real? What are facts? What can be manufactured?
Because they've been leaked. We have leaked documents.
But could they have been leaked in order for intelligence services to implement the idea that human beings should fear an alien takeover or an alien invasion, like what Dr. Werner von Braun said before he passed away, that would be the New World Order's big scare tactic eventually to gain full global control?
in your question is a contradiction.
All right.
Because from World War II, and the end of World War II was 45, we already know from all kinds of sources that we had retrieved 2 clone bodies and a wedge-shaped plan-form craft from Missouri. In 1941, nobody, no one anywhere,
That's before Roswell.
except for the locals, that didn't penetrate, not any media. Okay, so 41 to July 47. What was before July 47 by 2 weeks? June 24th, 1947, Kenneth Arnold up in Washington State says he sees 9 what? You look at the drawings he made, they were plan forms in triangular shapes. 9 of them. That was the famous interview where Kenneth Arnold, the insurance guy, says it looked like flying saucers that you would skip across a pond. 2 weeks later, after Kenneth Arnold had done that and UFO now is blazing, we have the July 2nd to July 4th of the alleged, our government kept it to 1 crash because of the mistake that was made in the Roswell Army Airfield when Colonel Blanchard, the head of the RAAF, innocently went to one of his PR people and said, we need to get in touch with the telegraph office and send out a notice that we have one of these flying saucers has come down between Roswell and Corona.
But even if people have seen that, which of course leads us to believe that there are aliens and there are UFOs in these crafts, we are still talking about government papers and leaked papers from government officials. How can we know for sure that that is fact? Even if the alien presence is real.
Well, what I was saying is the contradiction is in the question. We went from 41 to 47 with a world in total, complete darkness about anything happening. The governments were being that effective. Anybody who came forward with any description, that's when they trotted out counter intel that would say it was a hubcap thrown up in the air.
They still say that.
When you get to 47, we have too many eyewitnesses because there were multiple of these sites. Some of them have even been accused of being something where you would have a purposeful crash put down so that we would end up getting the technology, and that this was a way, without scaring us, to get technology into our hands to advance us more.
But that would only
rapidly
advance the military.
If you say that any of this could have been at any time, the contradiction is huge superimposed silence to keep the public and the media deaf and blind. The only mistake, which is what opened up the floodgates, was the Colonel Blanchard in Roswell going and putting out that story that a disc like Kenneth Arnold crashed. Then what happens? The 8th Air Force and everybody comes in and says, no, it was a weather balloon, go away, there's no story there. They had to lie and start lying and keep up policies of lying because they got caught in trying to keep a camouflage of silence. So
So they got caught with their pants down, actually. See, this is a true event. Too many witnesses, too much everything. Because right after that event had happened, they formed the CIA, which put a secrecy, put a nail on everything. They had everything nailed down. The secrecy was at its highest. It just started. They got it together, and they kept the secret going all these years. Let's go. We only got a little bit longer to go because I'm not going to go past the 30-minute mark.
What I'm saying is every single thing that was happening was to keep the public and the media deaf and blind about anything.
Which they still do.
But once there was an honest crash with multiple eyewitnesses, military putting out a story, they were caught in a brand new situation. And the only way that they have ever been able to deal with anything since is policies of denial and lies. And I'm sitting in front of you saying that I have talked with somebody who has been able to prove to me their Air Force record and what they did, and that they have told me about a face-to-face with one of the Ebens, a very, very dramatic story, in which their own military authority came and said, we want you to have the experience of a face-to-face.
But why would such a man or several people?
So, you know, let's go back over here. That's Linda Moulton, Howe, not Howell, but Howe, Howe. Yeah, so she has all the information of all the whistleblowers who talked to her about the alien connections, experiments, and everything that's going on. So she is very well informed. You'll be hearing more about her as we go on these next days, as she gets vindicated, because as things starting to happen, as the secrecy is becoming unfolded, the truth is coming out because they can't stop the truth. Well, now everything's coming out. So she'll be vindicated along with everybody else. And the ones who are lying, hiding it, they should be exposed, just like those ones who was on the Epstein file. Yeah. If they ever get to those. But then again, who knows when that'll happen. So, I'm not going to keep you. This is Audi Rob with Wide Open World Podcast, was coming to you with information that make you want to say, wow. Anyway, y'all have a lot of love, peace, love, light, and always keep looking up. Don't stop looking up, because you will see something soon. All right. I'm out of here. Peace.
Glass wide open, woke sessions, mind, body, soul, no second guessing, spilling truths, no sugarcoat dressing, wisdom hunting, cash and knowledge blessing. Hands to the streets, wide open the road, eyes on the prize, ain't no time for jokes, lies and highs. These chains we roll, truth on the mic, destiny and vote. Hands to the streets, wide open.